Agile methodology is used by a lot of companies, and Scrum Master is a key role as part of Agile. If you have good organizational skills and consider applying for Scrum Master position, you might be presented with the set of questions to validate your knowledge. Employers typically test the knowledge of candidates in Agile using multiple choice questions. This is why we put together this video to show you typical questions asked on the test, answers, solutions, and explanations to those questions, as well as tips, tricks, and hacks on how to get ready and pass employment assessment test. We also have simulation questions just for you. If you know the answer, please make sure to post them in the comment section of this video and I'll respond with my feedback. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this, and we'll make sure to deliver it in the future. And now, let's jump straight to the questions. Let's look at the tricky question which tests your knowledge of Agile principles. Which adjectives best defines the Agile team? Choice A, self-managed. Choice B, self-organizing. Choice C, self-reliant. And choice D, self-sufficient. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can answer this question together. Self-organization is one of the fundamental principles of Agiles. The success of the project completely relies on the fact that team members should be self-motivated and interested in completing the work. So self-organizing teams is the key to Agile principles. And self-organizing teams deliver the best architectures, requirements, and designs. And one of the main fundamentals of Agile is the ability of the team to self-organizing around the goals. So the correct answer is choice B, self-organizing. Hopefully you've nailed this question. Let's look at the interesting question which tests your knowledge of Agile principles. Which of the given below are Agile principles? Choice A, collaboration with individuals. Choice B, working in small chunks. Choice C, making changes in any sprint. Choice D, continuously improving. And choice E, all of the above. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the correct answer together. Let's look at each choice individually to identify the correct ones. So for choice A, collaboration with individuals is definitely part of the Agile principles. Collaboration is definitely increased during the Agile project. In most of the times, teams are co-located, which means that they're placed in the same space where they can collaborate more effectively. So choice A is definitely one of the Agile principles. Choice B, working in small chunks, is also an Agile principle. One of the big concepts in Agile is breaking down the work into meaningful, manageable, and can-complete components. So working in small chunks definitely follows this paradigm. Choice C, making changes in any sprint, is also an Agile principle. Inputs from the customer are always welcome, because when you receive the input, it means that this is something that customer wants, and making this particular change would improve customer satisfaction and will make end result product better meet customer requirements. Choice D, continuously improving, is also one of the key Agile principles. Teams are required to do retrospective events where they look back to see what worked, what didn't work, and what can be improved. Ideas captured as part of retrospectives events are implemented and teams start following them in the future sprints. So the correct answer here is E, all of the above. Let's recap. Agile principles are essential to be followed in any team and in any condition. Customers are happier when they receive working software at regular intervals with small increments in additional functionality. And Agile principles provide greater customer satisfaction while increasing customer loyalty, because customers understand that they will get a working product in the end. So choice E, all of the above, is the correct choice. Hopefully you've nailed this question. And now here's the question for you to try. Which one is typically not a characteristic of Scrum Master? And you have 5 different choices. Choice A, process-oriented. Choice B, has strong development skills. Choice C, supportive. Choice D, shields team members from unplanned work. And choice E, deliverables-oriented. If you know the answer, please make sure to post it in the comments. Let's look at the tricky question which tests your knowledge of velocity. What is true about velocity? It measures completed effort. Choice B, it measures Agile teams' speed of execution. Choice C, can compare performance of different teams. Choice D, it estimates performance before start of the iteration. And choice E, none of the above. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can solve this challenge together. Velocity measures completed effort by the team. It typically represents the amount of work which team is able to complete by adding effort associated with completed user stories during the iteration. It typically measures the effort after completing the iteration. Average velocity is the most effective measure when compares performance for the same team. And velocity can also be used during the planning to limit amount of work taken in future iterations. So the correct answer here is choice A. Velocity measures completed effort. Let's recap. Velocity does measure completed effort. But velocity does not measure Agile's team speed of execution. You typically do not use velocity to compare performances of different teams, because velocity of different teams might be very, very different. Also, you do not use velocity to estimate performance before start of the iteration. It's a good measure, but you use velocity for different purposes. Velocity is a good measure to limit the work, but it does not help you with estimating the effort at the beginning of the iteration. So the correct answer here is choice A, measures completed effort. Hopefully you've nailed this question. People contact me and ask what's changed during COVID-19. Let's look at the changes in employment assessment test process that have happened recently. One of the biggest changes is the fact that a lot of people work remotely, which means a lot of hiring also happening remotely. Provider might ask you to install special software to monitor your desktop activities. They might also ask you to enable your camera to see what you're doing during the test. Another big shift we see is that the questions become more relevant to the position. For example, if you're applying for accountant or bookkeeper job, make sure you know how to import the data, do profit and loss reports, calculate the expenses, and calculate the annual statements. These are the types of questions that you might see for that specific position. Researching the company and researching the test provider always works for our students. Once you know who the provider is, you can try to go to their website to see the sample questions to get an idea what kind of questions you're going to get on the test. It is always a good idea to refresh your hands-on skills and practice before the test. This gives you necessary boost of confidence and allows to pass the test with the higher grade. If you didn't pass the test, make sure to reflect after it. Take notes and develop an action plan to see what the next steps might be to get you the job. Let's look at the tricky question related to impediments. Statements below are true about Agile impediments with the exception of, and we have 5 different choices. Choice A, impediments should be reviewed during daily scrums. Choice B, impediments reduce team's productivity. Choice C, impediment is a waste. Choice D, product owner is responsible to identify impediments. And choice E, impediments are solved during innovation sprint. The tricky part here is that they all seem correct, but one of them is incorrect. So let's look one by one to each choices here, and hopefully we'll nail this question together. So choice A, impediments should be reviewed during daily scrums. This is absolutely correct. This is how all the challenges the team is facing should be presented and regularly reviewed. Scrum Master is responsible to facilitate this discussion, and team members are responsible for providing honest and accurate information about current status of the impediments. Choice B, impediments reduce team's productivity. This is absolutely correct, as well as choice C, which shows that impediment is a waste. They both are correct because impediments are in fact something that prevents team from achieving its goals. Choice D, product owner is responsible to identify impediments. This is also true. Every team member is responsible to identify and report impediments. And last choice, choice E, as you might have figured out by now, which is incorrect, impediments are solved during the innovation sprint. The tricky part about choice E is that this sometimes might be accurate. Impediments sometimes are solved during innovation sprint. Let me give you an example. Sometimes, if team faces technical challenges, they might choose to go through the training, get the knowledge, and solve the impediment of lacking technical skills. But for the most part, this is not true. Impediments are solved by Scrum Master facilitating the discussions, defining the approach, and removing the obstacles from team working at its full capacity and reaching its full velocity. So choice E here is incorrect. Let's recap. Here on this slide, I share with you all information relevant to impediments that you might see as part of the test. Everyone in the team has responsibility to identify impediments, including the product owner. Scrum Master's main responsibility is to track and remove the impediments. Recurring impediments should be reviewed during team's retrospective. Impediments are tracked on the team board and reviewed during daily scrums. An impediment is an obstacle that keeps the Agile team from getting work done and which slows velocity of the team. Impediments decrease team's productivity and velocity. And impediments are most of the time unexpected events and can't be planned. So the correct answer here is choice E. Impediments are solved during the innovation sprint. Hopefully you've nailed this question, or at least know by now how to answer it on the test. And now, here's the question for you to try. If you know the answer, please make sure to post it in the comment section of this video, and I'll provide you the feedback. Agile Business Analyst is one of the key roles in Agile framework. And you have two choices, yes and no. If you know the answer, please make sure to post it in the comments. Let's look at the interesting question which tests your knowledge of Agile concepts. Planning poker practice is used for, and there are 5 choices. Allows team members to connect before the next sprint. Choice B. More accurately estimate story points for user story. Choice C. To statistically increase accuracy of testing. Choice D. To select innovation techniques and improve sprint quality. And choice E. None of the above. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the correct answer together. Let's quickly look at the concept of planning poker and how it is used in Agile. Planning poker helps estimation of story points during planning. Each member can vote on the complexity of user stories. Each member selects the number, and you have a list of numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20, or 40 to better estimate complexity of story points for the user story. As part of the planning poker exercise, team members don't see other people's selections. This way they cannot be influenced and biased toward any particular choice selected by other member. After the values are presented, team members can discuss their values and attempt to align based on the feedback. For example, if there is a difference in story points and somebody selected 1 and another team member selected 20, this is definitely worth the discussion because of such a huge misalignment. High and low estimate variants especially benefit from the discussion because after the discussion there is another re-voting, and hopefully after the discussion team members would be better aligned. Scrum Master facilitates the discussion until consensus is achieved. And then finally selected value is used to estimate for story points completion. This will be the final value entered into the tracking system. So the correct choice here is choice B. Planning poker is used to more accurately estimate story points for user story. Hopefully you've nailed this question. A lot of students ask me, what are the smartest ways to learn? Let's look at the different options available to you. Let me share with you some ways to learn new material that work for me. I typically use dedicated, uninterrupted chunks of time to read and practice new material. When my attention drifts, I try to take a break, and I typically do it every 25 to 30 minutes. I recommend that you download workbooks to practice the hands-on steps, which helps you reinforce the steps and better learn the material. When I try to learn something, I try to watch videos from start to finish in one sitting. I use different playback speed to make sure the material keeps me engaged. I also try to give myself time to absorb the content. And if something is not clear, I try to pause the video, and sometimes I even go back to review material more than once. Let's look at the interesting question which tests your knowledge of Agile concept sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective can be described using below statements with the exception of: it's a meeting to discuss reuse of the work already completed. Choice B allows team to understand improvement opportunities. Choice C allows to discuss what went right during the iteration. Choice D helps team members to better know each other. And choice E allows improvements in every sprint. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see if we can get to the correct answer together. The tricky part about questions that state "with the exception of" typically means that you have to know exactly the answer and you have to select it right from the list. And in our case, all of the choices seem correct, but one of them is definitely not correct. So let's start from the bottom. Sprint retrospective allows improvements in every sprint. This is accurate and this is correct because this is the whole idea for a team to discuss what went right, what didn't go well, and what can be improved at the end of every sprint. Choice D helps team members to better know each other. This is also true. During the retrospective, team members share feedback of what went well during the sprint, as well as provide feedback directly to other team members and discuss what can be improved. Choice C, retrospective, allows to discuss what went right during the iteration. By now you probably know that this is correct too. Choice B, retrospective, allows team to understand improvement opportunities. This is also correct. During the retrospective, this is the main focus of what can be improved. And last but not least is choice A. Retrospective is a meeting to discuss reuse of the work already completed. This is not the main purpose of retrospective. Team is not meeting to discuss the reuse of the work. If reuse is possible, it probably should be discussed as part of the planning session. So choice A is the right choice to select here. Let's recap. Sprint retrospective is typically done after the iteration to determine what went well, what didn't go well, and what can be improved. It allows team to identify what's working and to identify improvement opportunities. It allows to identify small possible improvements, large possibilities for improvements, as well as patterns which could be identified as part of the sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is also a great way for the team to mature and practice self-organization. And last but not least is the fact that sprint retrospective promotes the culture of inclusion, where every team member is asked to participate and provide the feedback. So the correct choice here is choice A. Retrospective is a meeting to discuss reuse of the work already completed. This is not a valid description of the retrospective. Hopefully you've nailed this question. Multiple choice questions are always very tricky as part of the test. Let's look at one of the samples to help you get ready and pass the exam. Which roles are not part of the Agile methodology? And you have 6 different choices: Product Owner, Scrum Master, Agile Manager, Quality Analyst, Team Member, or Developer. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see if we can solve this challenge together. As you might be well aware, there are 3 main roles in Agile: Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Development Team. So choices C, D, and F, Agile Manager, Quality Analyst, and Developer, are not part of the Agile methodology. If you look at the original question, choice E, Team Member, could be considered as part of the Development Team, so it's included in the answer. Hopefully you've nailed this question and know how to answer these types of questions in the test. Let's look at the tricky question which we frequently see on the test. Which statement is true about Agile? The most efficient way to implement Agile is to skip signing a contract. Choice B. Agile necessitates a high degree of upfront preparation and arrangements. Choice C. The team can complete work as soon as requirements are agreed upon upfront. And choice D. Agile entails top-notch discipline. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the correct answer together. What's interesting about this question is that some of the choices seem to be correct, but there's one choice that is very correct, and that's the choice that you should be selecting on your test. Let's look at each answer in more details. For example, let's look at choice A first. Signing a contract is still necessary because this is a legal agreement between 2 organizations. Agile doesn't prevent companies or doesn't necessarily demand not to sign a contract. Choice B might be true for Agile as well, because if companies currently don't have Agile implemented, they may need to do some preparation and some work ahead of time before starting the project. Choice C is somewhat correct, because in this choice, team can start working on completing the project as soon as requirements are agreed upon upfront. But team will probably need more inputs from the customer to complete the work effectively. And as you might have figured out by now, Choice D is the correct answer to this question. Agile entails top-notch discipline. Everyone on the team must follow Agile principles and guidelines for the project to be successful, not just the team members, but also stakeholders and executives as well. This is how a lot of tricky questions are organized on the test, where you have answers that are somewhat correct, but one answer is specifically follows the Agile principles and guidelines. And if you know the principles and guidelines, you will be able to find and identify this answer for that particular question. Let's recap. The Agile process believes into incremental, just-in-time approach to design. Projects do not have to do upfront analysis or design phase. All work occurs within the repeated cycle of sprints. Customer inputs happens throughout the development process, and everyone on the team has to be extremely disciplined. So the correct answer is choice D. Agile entails top-notch discipline. Hopefully you've nailed this question. Let's look at the interesting question, which has 7 choices for possible answers. Scrum Master is typically not responsible for, and you have 7 different choices. Choice A, ensuring that regular Agile ceremonies take place. Choice B, monitoring and tracking. Choice C, reporting and communication. Choice D, shielding the team and performance feedback. Choice E, budget planning. Choice F, resolving impediments. And choice G, resolving conflicts. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can solve and get to the correct answer together. What is interesting here is that 6 out of 7 responsibilities are truly responsibilities of the Scrum Master. There is only one responsibility that is not. So Scrum Master is typically responsible to resolve impediments, ensuring that regular Agile ceremonies are taking place, understanding the requirements of the work which needs to be done, and tracking the work, reporting and communication, resolving conflicts, and shielding the team and performance feedback from anybody outside of the team. So the correct answer is choice F, budget planning. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know the correct answer. Let's look at the tricky question you might frequently see as part of Agile test. What is true about velocity? Choice A, can compare performance of different Agile trains. Choice B, can be revised during the current iteration. Choice C, is used to limit amount of work in future iterations. Choice D, measures Agile team performance. Choice E, none of the above. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the correct answer together. Velocity is probably one of the most misunderstood terms in Agile. It represents the amount of work which team is able to complete by adding effort associated with each user story during the iteration. So for example, if team completed 5 user stories, each one was 3 story points, then the completed effort would be 15 story points, which is a result of multiplication 3 by 5. You measure the velocity after completing the iteration. An average velocity is the most effective measure when comparing performance of the same team. Again, you typically compare velocity at the end of multiple sprints to plan for the future velocity for the same team. Sometimes velocity can also be used during the planning sessions to limit amount of work taken in future iteration by the team. So the correct answer here is choice C. Velocity is used to limit amount of work in future iterations. Hopefully you've nailed this question. One of the best ways to learn is try to test your knowledge periodically. I encourage you to participate in our daily question challenge. Every day we post a new question in the community section of the channel. You have an opportunity to test your knowledge and validate your skills on the different topics. This is one additional reason to subscribe to the channel, because this way all the questions will be delivered to you automatically. Questions related to impediments are very frequently seen in the tests. Let's look at one of these types of questions. Statements below are true about Agile impediments, with the exception of, and then you have 5 different choices. Management is responsible to track the impediments. Choice B, Scrum Master is responsible to remove impediments. Choice C, team member responsible to identify impediments. And choice D, impediments decrease velocity, as well as choice E, impediment is a waste. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can solve this challenge and get to the correct answer together. Based on the type of question that we see, 4 choices should be the correct choices and 1 choice should be incorrect. Let's go from the bottom up. Let's start with the choice E, impediment is a waste. This is correct. Impediment is something unwanted, something that slows team down. Choice D, impediments decrease velocity. This is also correct. Impediments slow team down and prevent them from doing the actual work. So this is also accurate. Choice C, team member responsible to identify impediments. This is also true. Every team member on the team is responsible to identify impediments and report them as part of the stand-up meetings or as part of direct communication with other team members or Scrum Master. Choice B, Scrum Master is responsible to remove impediments. This is also true. Scrum Master has a responsibility to deal and remove the impediments that prevent team from doing and reaching the full capacity. And choice A, management is responsible to track the impediments, is incorrect. Management can optionally track the impediments, but they're not really responsible to do that and deal with them, since team is self-organizing. Let's recap. In this slide, I'm going to share with you everything related to impediments that you need to know for the exam. Impediments are tracked on the team board and typically discussed as part of the stand-up meetings. An impediment is typically an obstacle that keeps the Agile team from getting work done and that slows velocity of the team. Impediments decrease team productivity and velocity. Impediments are most of the time unexpected events, and everyone on the team has responsibility of identifying and reporting impediments. Recurring impediments should be reviewed during the team retrospective. This is typically the best time to look at them. So the correct choice here is choice A. Management is responsible to track the impediments. Hopefully you've nailed this question. And now here's the question for you to try. If you know the answer, please post it in the comment section of this video and I'll respond with my feedback. Which artifacts represent main deliverables of sprint planning? And you have multiple different choices: statement of work, sprint backlog, product backlog, requirements document, sprint roadmap, sprint planning list, or signed contract. If you know the answer, please post it in the comments. Thanks for participating. Let's look at the interesting question, which tests your knowledge of Scrum Master role in Agile. Usually, Scrum Master is not responsible for, and you have 5 different choices: feature review during the product owner meeting, ensuring that regular Agile ceremonies are taking place, reporting and communication, shielding the team and performance feedback, and the last but not least, choice E, resolving impediments. Do you think you know the answer? Let's get to the correct answer together. Scrum Master is one of the key roles in Agile, and typically Scrum Master has responsibility to resolve impediments, ensuring that regular Agile ceremonies are taking place, understanding the requirements of the work that needs to be done, monitoring and tracking, reporting and communication, resolving conflicts, shielding the team and performance feedback, and doing a lot of other things. But typically, feature review during the product owner sync meeting is not part of Scrum Master's responsibility. So choice A is the correct choice to answer this question. Hopefully you've nailed it. And now here's the question for you to try. If you know the answer, please post it in the comment section of this video and I'll respond with my feedback. Agile methodology allows new items to be added into product backlog during the sprint, and you have 2 choices: yes and no. If you know the answer, please post it in the comments. Thanks for participating. Let's look at the tricky multiple choice question, which tests your knowledge of Agile ceremonies. Which meetings are not part of the Agile ceremonies? And you have 5 different choices to consider: daily stand-up, retrospective, impediments review, team demo, and status update with stakeholders. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the answer and solve this challenge together. As you might be well aware, there are 3 main ceremonies in Agile: daily stand-up, sprint demo, and sprint retrospective. Daily stand-up represents a regular, typically daily meeting in which team members discuss what work was done since last stand-up, what they're planning to do, and any questions and impediments. Sprint demo is a meeting typically at the end of the sprint where a team member shows what was done during the sprint. And sprint retrospective is a regular meeting typically done just among the team members, which typically happens at the end of the sprint to review and discuss what went well, what didn't go well, and what can be improved. So the correct choices here are choices C and E, impediments review and status update with stakeholders. Those are not standard Agile ceremonies. Hopefully you've nailed this question. And now here's the question for you to try. If you know the answer, please post it in the comment section of this video. Who participates in sprint reviews? And you have 5 different choices: product owner, Scrum Master, development team, management and stakeholders, all of the above. Do you think you know the answer? Please post it in the comments. Let's talk about best practices on how to get ready for employment assessment test. If this option is available and you have a choice, try to schedule assessment test in the morning when you have highest levels of energy. Get a good night's sleep before the test. And please do not take the test if you're tired, since a lot of questions require your top mental energy performance. During the test, read each question carefully, ideally more than once. Questions are designed to be tricky, and each and every detail in the question might be important. If you have a choice, try to answer easy questions first. This would allow you to leave harder questions for the end, but you will get easy answers in and you will get the points for them. Try to validate your answers with more than one method. For example, if you do an Excel assessment test, you can do manual calculation. You can try to use formulas for calculations, use calculator, or use pivot tables to validate your answers. And last but not least, try not to guess the answers, as some providers deduct points for incorrect selections. Let's look at the very interesting question, which validates your knowledge of Agile capabilities. Which item contains comprehensive list of features that need to be developed by Agile team? And you have 5 different choices: team calendar, full featured list maintained by product owner, project schedule file with Gantt chart, choice D, product backlog, and choice E, list of epics from stakeholder review. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the correct answer together. We can exclude choice A right away. Team calendar wouldn't have all that we're looking for. Team calendar might contain some events, activities, pre-scheduled meetings, but it wouldn't have a list of comprehensive features that need to be developed. It still leaves us with 4 choices though, so let's see which one out of these 4 choices is correct one. There are 2 types of backlogs in Agile. You have product backlog, which contains a list of all desired features and is owned by the product owner. List of features can be changed and updated over time, and a lot of times some of the features may not even be delivered. There's also a sprint backlog, which represents a subset of the product backlog owned by the development team. Team backlog, which is another name for the sprint backlog, is created during the planning meeting and represents commitment of what will be delivered during the sprint. So the correct answer here is choice D, product backlog. All other choices are designed to confuse you. And now, here's the question for you to try. Please make sure to post your answer in the comment section of this video. Can daily stand-up be cancelled if there are no important topics for discussion? And you have 2 choices, yes and no. If you know the answer, please make sure to post it in the comments. Let's look at the question, which is very frequently used as part of the test and tests your knowledge of Agile. Which statement about Agile is true? And there are 4 different choices. Agile project is completed sequentially while following the original plan and not going over budget. Choice B, responding to change is more valuable than following the plan. Choice C, it's more important to document requirements in the beginning of the project than in the middle. And choice D, processes and tools over individuals and interactions. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see how we can get to the correct answer together. To understand this question and answer it correctly, You need to understand 4 values Agile brings to the organizations. They're listed right here on the slide. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And responding to change over following a plan. So the correct choice is choice B. Responding to change is more valuable than following a plan. Hopefully you've nailed this question. And now here's the question for you to try. If you know the answer, please post it in the comment section of this video and I'll give you the feedback. Agile Sprint represents predefined time during which team members can choose items from the product backlog to work on. And you have 2 choices, yes and no. If you know the answer, please post it in the comments. Thanks for participating. Let's look at the interesting and tricky question you frequently see as part of the test. The main goal of Agile is, and there are 4 different choices, ensuring that the anticipated ROI is exceeded. Choice B, controlling change during the last sprint. Choice C, achieving the satisfaction of the customer. And choice D, completing the project on time. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see if we can get to the correct answer together. Even though all of these choices presented A through D are very admirable and very needed for the project, some of them are more relevant to Agile than the others. For example, Agile is obsessed with customer focus to meet customer goals. And this is the most important thing that's relevant to Agile. Because the most important objective and the reason why companies pick Agile is to achieve customer satisfaction. In fact, the main reason Agile is selected in a lot of cases is so the working solution can be created, which could be used by the customer, which is a big challenge if you choose other methodologies. 2 other important points. In Agile, changing requirements are welcomed anytime, even late in the development to satisfy the customer. And last but not least, is Agile approach can speed up the delivery time to market and raise teams' productivity, especially when teams work together for a period of time. Considering this, I would select choice C, achieving the customer satisfaction, as the answer to the question. Would you select a different answer? Please share your thoughts in the comment section of this video. And now, here's the question for you to try. Please make sure to post your answer in the comment section of this video. Which one is not a characteristic of product backlog? And you have 5 different choices. Always contains items, changes over time. There's always a product backlog for the product, contains effort estimates and timeline, or all of the above. If you know the answer, please post it in the comments. Let me share you smart ways to get prepared for the test. One of the smartest ways to prepare is to find out who your provider is that will be conducting an assessment test and use outlines and sample questions from the provider. The providers might be Indeed.com, SkillCheck, IKM, Kenexa, SHL, and a lot of others. Once you know who the provider is, you can go to their website, find out sample questions, and practice with sample questions. You can also practice LinkedIn assessment test questions on the topic that you will be assessed. LinkedIn test is free. It gives you exposure to the sample questions. And also, you can get a badge that will enhance your profile for potential employers. You can also research the topic you're trying to prepare for online and download ebooks to get ready for the test. Hands-on experience is very important. You can find relevant training and follow along to do hands-on exercises using practice videos on the training. If you have a question or ran into an obstacle during your practice exercises, try posting questions in the comment sections of the video. Channel owners or members of the channel monitor the questions and respond to the inquiries. And last but not least, consider subscribing to relevant YouTube channels. I encourage you to consider subscribing to Online Training for Everyone. We have a great community of people helping each other to prepare and pass the test. Let's look at the tricky question, which tests your knowledge of impediments in Agile. What is true about impediments in Agile? Choice A, impediment increases velocity. Choice B, impediments are planned for by the team. Choice C, Scrum Master is responsible to track impediments. Choice D, designated iteration is created to solve the impediments. Choice E, impediments are tracked outside of the team. Do you think you know the answer? Let's see if we can get to the correct answer together. An impediment is typically one of the most misunderstood terms in Agile. It is defined as an obstacle that keeps Agile team from getting work done and slows velocity of the team. Impediment decreases the productivity and velocity of the team. Impediments is typically an unexpected event and cannot be planned for. Everyone on the team has responsibility of identifying the impediments, but Scrum Master typically has primary responsibility to track and remove the impediments. And recurring impediments should be reviewed during team retrospective. So the correct answer here is choice C. Scrum Master is responsible to track impediments. Let's recap and also look why some of the choices may be incorrect. Choice A, impediment increases velocity. This is not true because impediments typically decrease the velocity of the team, because this is typically a negative event that prevents team from doing the work and getting things done. Choice B, impediments are planned for by the team. This is also not true. Most of the time, impediments is an unexpected event. Something happened, potentially one of the team members became sick. Team realizes that they don't have a knowledge of the technology, or they don't have a resource with the required skills. Those are the sample impediments, and typically cannot be planned for. Choice C, Scrum Master is responsible to track impediments. By now we know that this is a correct choice because Scrum Master has primary responsibility for tracking and removing the impediments. Choice D, designated iteration can be created to solve impediments. Typically this is not the case. Typically team tries to progress with the work, complete the work, and at the same time in parallel remove the impediments, preventing them from getting the work done. And choice E, impediments are tracked outside of the team, is also typically not correct, because impediments typically tracked on the team board, and every day as part of the sprint meeting, team reviews the progress and status on the removal of the impediments. Hopefully you've nailed this question and by now know how to answer it correctly on the exam. And now here's the question for you to try. Please make sure to post the answer in the comment section of this video. Product owner and Scrum Master are considered to be members of the development team, and you have two choices, yes or no. If you know the answer, please make sure to post it in the comments. Thanks for watching. I encourage you to check out our daily question challenge in the community section of this channel. I also recommend that you check downloads in the description section of this video. Please also check out resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net/resources. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this. I would encourage you to share this video with other people that might be looking for the job. This will help them to get prepared and pass assessment test faster. Please consider subscribing and following this channel. We have a community of great people helping each other to get ready and pass the test. Please leave questions, comments, or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your interview and assessment test. Thanks for watching.